Hey, there's Alex. I'm going to add Alex in. We're going to go in side by side. There we go. The man from Romania.
Hello. Let me just 1 second.
All right.
I'll get the DJ. Is audio good?
I'm doing the same here. I got a lapel mic that I'm using, that way I can walk around. So what time is it over there in Romania?
It's currently 10:30 p.m.
Gotcha.
So I can only stay for about half an hour because we got to go to bed. The little one is already in bed. We just came from Christina's parents and visited my parents, so it was like a weekend going to all the parents and everyone.
Gotcha. So we don't want to keep you too long, but if anybody's got questions on Alex's riding or anything about how things go over there in Romania, let's chat with the man. This is the first time I've talked to you in person, Alex. We've sent a handful of messages back and forth on WhatsApp and email, but I have not even been on a face-to-face with you. So good to meet you virtually.
We're gonna have a lot of talking to do once I get there. Usually people say that I talk too much.
Oh yeah, I get the same thing. People are like, "Oh man, why don't you just ride and stop talking through the vlogs and all that?" Well, isn't that kind of the reason for a vlog, is to talk? Yeah. And then videos that you put out where nobody, you don't have any talking or any dialogue in there. They're like, "What are you, angry or something? You're not talking." Can't win, can't lose.
Sometimes I get those comments, and when I do portions of videos where I shut up and just write for 5 minutes, I look at the analytics and you basically see them going down.
They drop off. Yeah, that's right. So
people are asking, why do you keep talking and don't shut up? And when you do shut up, they tune off.
Right. Yeah, can't win, can't. Yeah, it's hard to know what people are after. There's different formats of videos for reviews versus road trips versus vlog, and you and I both do long form content, and I think that's kind of our viewers enjoy, is that long form, getting to see the road and what life is like without all the pomp and pretense. And there's ups and downs and mechanical breakdowns and unscheduled bio breaks, and that's life on the road, man.
Sometimes you just stop and want to eat something, and that gas station doesn't have food, and it's something that happens on the road.
Exactly.
You can't get a bite to eat. You have to ride for another hour just to find a sandwich.
Yep, you got it. So tell us about famous Donnie. I've learned about Donnie through your videos. Give us the scoop on what it is, the year, the miles, what you've done to it.
So it's a 2021 Symphony ST200. That's a 169cc air-cooled engine, so it's not liquid-cooled. It only has about 12 horsepower. It's your basic air-cooled engine, just a fan on the side and stuff like that. Currently, it has 48,000 kilometers, and let me just do the math on freedom units. So 30,000 miles, 29,813. So 30,000 miles. Yeah, it's been through Europe, through 14 countries, 14 and a half, I keep saying, because I've been to Transnistria, and that's theoretically not a country, it's not recognized. So it's either 14 or 15, depending who you ask.
Okay.
And currently now there's a whining sound from inside the engine. It might be camshaft bearing or the crankshaft bearing. So either cam, top end, or bottom end. I put it off to November because I don't have time to go through it at this moment. I already talked to somebody. I have all the parts at work. Basically, I have a full engine in parts at work because I'm the parts guy. I got parts for my Scooter in stock. Sure. And we're going to go through it. If it's the camshaft, the crankshaft bearing, so bottom end, we're going to do a complete full rebuild from bottom to top, everything, new cylinder, piston, even if they're not worn, because honestly, now it starts up perfectly. It has the power, it has compression, it has everything. It just runs fine. You just hear a noise, a whining noise.
Gotcha.
But if I open up the engine, then I'm going to completely refresh it, because I don't want to take any chances over there. I mean, I'm going to bring parts over there, I plan to have just about anything for a full engine rebuild, but hopefully we don't use them.
Gotcha. Now, I don't know if this is asking out of turn, but are you maybe possibly going to get any sponsorship from Sim as far as parts or any kind of materials?
My bosses at work want to support this project, and they as a company are going to sponsor it partially. And we're currently talking with the Greek importer, which imports everything for this region of Europe. So it's a very big company. And they're kind of okay with it. That's why I even went to the ADX 400 launch. That was like the motivation. Was a bit of recognition and the first-hand recognition, and to see how I work and how they can work with me and stuff like that.
Congratulations on that, by the way. Don't mean to interject, but keep going.
And even there in Greece, there were a couple of representatives from the marketing department of Sim Global, like Sim Corporate. And we talked a little bit, like just thrown the idea about, like told them about my plan. Hey, I'm shipping my Symphony to the States and we're going to do this Cannonball thing and stuff like that. And next month in November, I'm going to the EICMA show. You should, just as a side note, in one of the years, you should come to the EICMA show.
I'd love to, yeah.
And it's not really expensive. I mean, hotel, stuff like that, we can get a week's hotel for like a couple of $100, $200-$300 a week's hotel, and we get early access as a press.
We pay $200 or $300 a night for hotels here. Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think my previous room that I booked was like, what is that in dollars? Let me just do the math. I know it in my Romanian currency. Divided by 4.4. It was $318 from Monday to Friday, so 4 nights.
That's awesome.
In Milan, and it was like 20 minutes walking distance from the trade show. So at the trade show, me and my bosses are gonna push the idea again to Sim Corporate and see if we can get a bit of a commitment. Basically, at work, I have all the parts and everything I need. All I need is funding.
Gotcha. Cool. Real quick, I'm going to come back to your question in a minute, Matthew. An old Cub that's going to be carbureted, so it really depends on where you're riding chores. It's a hard bill to fill for anything less than about a 150 on most American roads, but we'll come back to that. Question: when you talked to Sim about the Cannonball, had they heard of this before? Did they know anything about the Cannonball, or was it totally new territory?
They were completely oblivious to it.
Wow, that's interesting. So I'm surprised that Honda and even Suzuki, they sell scoots here. Really, the only 3 scoot brands that we've got from the Japanese manufacturers are Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki. Kawasaki doesn't make anything, and we get a very slim selection of bikes and scoots as it is. But nobody, from a manufacturer perspective, except for maybe Vespa, has really shown any public interest in the Cannonball. So I think it would be really cool to get some manufacturer visibility and support into the event, because it brings people from all walks of life, from all over the world. We've had people from Australia, Europe, now coming up next year, Romania. It's a neat event. It's a serious challenge.
Honestly, I think it's a wonderful event, and I'm really shocked that we don't have anything similar in Europe, at least, because here in Europe, touring on a scooter is not uncommon. I mean, you still have your 1%ers motorcycles, just believe you. Over there, you have your Gold Wings and your Harleys, your road glides, street glides, and stuff like that. Over here, it's the GSs. So,
right,
it's that mentality. You want to travel more than 1,000 miles, then you need a GS. You need something. You need a Multistrada. You need a GS. You need an RT. You need big stuff like that. But there are a lot of people that have traveled all around Europe, and they do it regularly on 300, 350cc scooters, like going to the top of Norway to Nordkapp, and they're not YouTubers or anything. They just go there for fun. So it's not out of the ordinary to see a scooter on a long distance road trip.
That's awesome. Yeah, here it's just unheard of. So the things that I do, small bore touring and camping and things like that, are just, it's totally alien to most U.S. riders because everyone here thinks that you've got to have 100 horsepower and minimum 100 miles an hour to get anywhere. So it's very rare to see that. On that topic, Scrib, one of my buddies here, is asking, "Are you going to be camping on the Cannonball?"
Oh yeah, I'm on a very tight budget. A very very tight budget.
Yeah, yeah. So Alex and I had talked about we're going to be motocamping. He's planning to ride pretty much the whole trip across the country with me up to the starting point, and then we're going to ride all the way back. And most of it is going to be motocamping. We'll probably, snag a hotel room floor like we do, borrow a shower, every couple of days, whatever. But yeah, it's going to be motocamping because it keeps the costs down a lot.
I've looked at the cost of the hotels on the route.
Crazy.
They're scary.
Over $350 a night in some places. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I'm not gonna rally up $20,000 in terms of sponsorship. I currently, from donations, I have a couple of donations from some of my followers, and I'm up to about $1,000. But I still have to get my visa, I still have to get my plane ticket, and I still have to get shipping. So I'm still, I don't even have those covered yet.
Right. Yeah, and that's someone's asking right along those same lines, are we allowed to have sponsors? Yes, there's no restriction on commercial sponsorship for this. There have been a couple of groups that have run the Cannonball with full video production crews behind them. There have been, I think it was the 2012 and 2014, or it might have been 2016 Cannonball. They did movies on it. So you can have big production crews, full support trucks, commercial sponsorship, whatever. There's no restrictions on that. The only thing that you have to do to stay within the rules is the bike has to meet muster for maximum displacement. It's got to meet the qualifications in order to compete for points, and you can't cheat along the way and still claim points for the day. You'll get a DNF or something like that. That's really the only restrictions. So Doe is asking, are you going to ride the Zontes 350? No.
A lot of people have asked me, oh, by the way, in about a month's time, we're going to get a Zontes E, like the one I have, 15 horsepower, 125.
Wow, that's beefy for a 125.
I don't think it's going to be all that fast, but I mean, for something for the Cannonball, it has like 16.5 liter fuel tank, so it should be good for about 400 miles. Plus, it's huge and comfortable. It's a whale. Plus all the electric windscreen and everything, and it's going to cost somewhere in the region of about 4,000 and a bit euros, so about $4,500 in dollars.
That's not bad. So are they trying to compete directly with the Forza 125, I guess?
Yeah, here in Europe, the thing with the 125s, here in Europe, we have a law that most European countries have this law, and starting this autumn, Romania got this law as well. You can ride a 125cc scooter on a regular car license.
Okay, so Portugal is the same way, yeah.
Yeah, so is Portugal, so is Italy, so is Greece, Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, I think. A lot of countries have this. So that's why you have this market of big scoots, big premium scooters with 125cc engines. I mean, I've ridden them. I've ridden the Cruise Sim, the X-Max 125, the Forza 125. To be honest, compared to something like a PCX, they're slow because they're heavy. They're something like 50, 60 kilograms heavier than a regular small size 125cc scooter. That's like, I don't know, 120 pounds, 150 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
So even though they have 15 horsepower, they're heavier and you feel them. Getting off the line, they're sluggish. They're a bit slow. You really have to rev the nuts off them to get them going. But you have buyers that don't want to get motorcycle license, but they have money. I mean, they work in corporations, they're CEOs, they're stuff like that. They want a premium scooter. So we have this market created for big premium scooters, but with 125cc engines.
Interesting. Nice. Someone, Nursmatic is asking, what is the Cannonball? Okay, so the Scooter Cannonball is an event that's held every 2 years. It used to be on even years, but it got moved to odd years during COVID lockdown. Every 2 years we get together and we travel coast to coast. It's either east west, west east, north south. It's picked a random direction, and we try to not redo any pre-existing routes. If we do a previous path, it's always in reverse direction from the last time that it was done. So it's an endurance rally. Think of a poker run, but it's a cross-country poker run where you've got to stop and take all the pictures at the checkpoints. You've got bonus points, mandatory checkpoints, different varying, levels of difficulty depending on how you want to do it. The limitation is 300 cc's engine displacement. So anything under 300 cc's that meets 3 of the 5 criteria to be classified as a scooter. So it's got to be unit engine swing arm construction, where it's a traditional scooter back end where the engine and the rear wheel are all part of the same unit. That's unit swing arm. It has to be a step through frame. Maximum size on the wheels, leg shield. There's a bunch of different criteria, but it has to meet a minimum of 3 of those criteria to be classified as a scooter. You can't be over 300 cc's, period. There's no exception for that. And we ride these things across the country on roads that we shouldn't be riding, on highways that shouldn't ever see that small of a machine. And it's an endurance challenge of man and machine. It's great fun. And a lot of people drop out for one reason or another, but if you can get all the way through it, it's a huge sense of accomplishment, and that's all you get out of it. There's no trophy, there's no money, it's just bragging rights. So, good fun.
What I am curious, and I wanted to ask you, going through the rules, I never did understand, how do you win the event?
You win based on scoring. So there are different classes of scoots, and you've got class winners and overall winners, or at least starting last year with the 23 Cannonball. And the 25 Cannonball is going to follow those same rules. So within each class, you'll have a class winner, and then you'll have an overall winner based on points after the handicap has been applied. So you have to hit every one of the checkpoints, and you've got to be within the allotted time. So this is a time, speed, distance rally, more or less. So you don't get more points by getting there really, really fast, because that's encouraging speeding and dangerous riding and everything else. So you're actually penalized if you get there earlier than the allotted amount of time between checkpoints. So it keeps everybody honest. But there's a big scoring algorithm that takes into account your gate-to-gate times for consistency, not your speed getting there, minimum time or anything like that, but your consistency gate-to-gate. So taking your pictures at the right time and not dawdling, and then getting to the next checkpoint or stopping to take a leak in the middle of the woods or whatever, those things hurt your time, so your score goes down. And every class of bikes will have its division winner, more or less. So that's kind of how the scoring works.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be there anyway, just for the fun of it. I don't think I'm going to care for the score.
Exactly. I haven't really played the game to win. I suppose if I really went out there to be competitive, I could probably score pretty well. In 21, when Adrian and I ran our Super Cubs with the trailers, if we weren't pulling the trailers, we would have been up in the top 3 or 4 spots easily. No question about it. Because Ben Da Vinci, he came in second place on a Super Cub 125, and we were consistently beating him gate to gate because he was making all kinds of routing errors. We didn't make any routing errors. We just couldn't go fast on the long stretches. And he still won second place. So we would have easily smoked him had we not been pulling those trailers behind us. So, Tom, thanks for... Robbie, hey, Robbie, here's a cannonballer from last year.
Oh, nice.
He's a fan of both channels. Can't wait. Oh, man. Yep. You're riding next year, I guess. You're saying at the starting line. Hell yeah, Robbie. Robbie saved my butt with a variator and some help last year.
Yeah, I saw the videos.
So, yeah.
I still have the 2021 Cannonball to go through, but I've been kind of busy lately.
Yeah, and those are long videos. Yeah.
They are very enjoyable.
The 21 Cannonball series that I did, that was almost a non-event as far as drama. It was just a lot of long riding, and we had some pretty rough roads that we went through and some hardships and whatnot. But we didn't have any mechanical failures, no crashes, no real drama in Adrian and I's team. He and I riding together. But then 23, I just had nothing but trouble. It kicked my ass.
You proved my point about aftermarket parts.
Yes. And, I thought that the Dr. Pulley variator would treat me okay because I had 10,000 miles on that variator, basically, or is it about 8,500 miles on it before I left Texas. And I had never had any problems with it. But that rear torque drive is what got me. It was failing, and it was causing extra stress on the belt and extra stress on the variator bushing and all that. So it just created kind of a cascade failure with the rest of the pieces. So had I known that, I would have put a fresh torque drive in the rear of it and gone back to the OEM variator before I left Houston, and then I wouldn't have had any problem.
Yeah. One funny thing about these kinds of parts and what we're doing in the Cannonball, you saw the videos of my ride to Turkey and the fact that I did an iron butt on my little 169cc.
That was awesome.
In Greece, when I talked to the marketing manager of Sim from Taiwan, and I told him, I went through my channel, he said like, yeah, I've seen some of your videos, but he kept an eye on the reviews to see what I thought of newer models. And then I showed him the older videos, and I showed him the Cannonball, the iron butt.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, you did how many kilometers in how much time?
Uh-huh.
And he was like, when did you sleep? I said, no, 24 hours. That scoot was a throttle pinned for 24 hours. 1,600 kilometers, 1,000 miles, 1,000 a bit miles in 23 hours and 50 minutes. It went across all of Turkey and Bulgaria in 24 hours. And he was like, and did it make it?
Yeah, you obviously made it.
They also had an engineer with them. He called them over. It was like, look what Alex did 2 years ago. I explained again what I did to the engineer, one of their chief engineers, and he said, did it make it? I said, yes, it made it, no problem. I even got another 20,000 miles on that engine without any kind of issue. It's like, if you would have asked me before you did it, I would have told you, I don't think it's going to make it.
Yeah.
I mean, he just said, we do not test for stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a torture test of a whole new realm. And the Cannonball, the same way. They're not made to do that. They're not engineered for that. So they're fantastic mechanical test beds for any manufacturer. It's like the old 24 hours of Le Mans kind of races where we go out there and test their metal, quite literally.
So yeah, but the fact that they can do it, I mean, the Cannonball is kind of extreme, and actually the Cannonball is kind of easy compared to my iron butt on it. That was, I don't want to do it again on that thing. I did it once. It's not the ass hurting or stuff like that because I'm comfortable on my scoot, but just riding for 24 hours straight, it's hard. I know you did the recent trip on the CB 500 that you rode like 25 hours.
Yeah, it was, if I included the stopping time waiting on that bad storm and the tornadoes and all that, it was 25. But the actual ride time was 22 and a half or 23 hours, 1,500 miles.
Yeah, I had kind of the same 22 hours and change in riding. It takes a toll.
It does. It's very, very physically and mentally taxing. The physical part I can deal with. It's the hallucinating and seeing pink elephants in the middle of the road. That's the tough part.
Yeah. Even myself, the last couple of hours was very difficult. I was kind of running on energy drinks and coffee, and I don't drink coffee, and even coffee wasn't keeping me awake anymore. And I don't drink coffee, so usually coffee is like my go-to in case in an emergency I need to stay awake. I just drink some coffee. I don't like the taste, but I shove it down my neck, and then I'm all of a sudden energized.
Right. But then the crash after is the hard part to deal with. So.
Yeah. I think after that trip, I slept for 2 days. Not continuously, but I basically stayed at home for 2 days and just slept for 4 hours, woke up, watched some TV 1 hour, then fell asleep again. And it kind of went like that for 2 days until I got myself back on my feet after 24 hours of riding constantly, continuously. Plus, I had problems with the cold. It was cold. It was something like 40 and a bit Fahrenheit on the trip.
Well, we won't have any problem with cold here on the Cannonball because it's in the summer. But the one thing that a lot of iron butt riders are surprised about when they get into the Cannonball is they think, oh, you know, it's just 400-mile day. That's no big deal. No, 400 miles on a scooter in a day is a fairly long day, and we're not taking highways. We're taking back roads with a lot of twists and turns and, unknown territory, gravel roads, all kinds of stuff like that. So you spend 10 or 12 or 14 hours on that seat, which would be the equivalent of an iron butt on a full-size bike on the highway. Yeah. So it's the ride time that gets you, and then you're compounding that with you're doing it day after day after day after day. So you don't have that next day to recover after spending 12 hours or 14 hours in the saddle. No, you got to get right back to it and make that next distance. So you do that 8 or 10 days in a row, and usually somewhere about 6 days in, 7 days in, I start losing my taste for it. It's like, man, I'm just ready for this shit to be done. But you get just a couple more days. It's like, okay, I'm almost done with it. So I'm gonna power through.
And to think we're gonna ride another 3,000 miles from your place up to Oregon.
Correct. And that's always harder or more hardcore for the way that I do the Cannonball on these long trips is I ride to and from the endpoints of the event. So depending on where those endpoints are, it adds anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 more miles to the event itself. So like in 21, the official route was only 4,600 miles, I think, or something like that. But by the time we got our trip to and from, it was 9,900 miles and change. So another 5,000 miles on top of that. So yeah, it's pretty intense on a 125, pulling a trailer.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. Also, after we're done with the Cannonball, I would love to take a couple of days and go to Florida to the Forgotten Angels camp out.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's the compound, not the camp out. I'm gonna miss the camp out. But I also follow Shade Tree Surgeon and Shalisi and everyone from over there. Like her Wheels is in Ohio, but also Blockhead. And I would love to see the Forgotten Angels grounds. So yeah, I would add another 2,000 miles to Tampa and back after the Cannonball.
Cool. Well, I'll if you want a riding partner for that, I might tag along for that because I've not been out to Florida on a bike or a scoot in a long time. So
I'm also in their Discord chats and everything, and I'm gonna probably let everyone know. Maybe we can meet people around there. It would be interesting. I mean, I've been following the guy for the better part of 4 or 5 years, and a lot of you from the States have been inspiration for me to get my channel up and going. And if I'm there, I kind of want to hit all the spots. Who knows when I'm gonna be back again? Hopefully, 2027 with the ADX 125.
Yep. Southern 504 is saying he's ready for another camping trip. Are you ready for another of my camping trips or our camping trips or a you camping trip? Scrib is saying it's going to be hot. Yeah. Yeah. So what are your summer temps over there in Romania? How hot does it get over in your part of the world?
It sometimes gets up to 38, 39 Celsius. Let me just Google the map. So that's about 102, 103. But
yeah, that's Texas.
Yeah, I know it's going to be hot. Sorry for your viewers that might see me. I'm probably going to be riding in a T-shirt.
Yeah, I usually ride with full jacket on just to, avoid windburn and sunburn, but it gets pretty hot. Adrian ended up riding in just like a fishing shirt and flip-flops or open, sandals, like hiking sandals. And people were giving me shit on the videos about him riding with sandals. It's like, hey, it's his feet. He can do what he wants. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Usually in the summer, I just put a pair of jeans, some Nikes in my feet, a T-shirt on, and gloves and full helmet. So gloves and helmet.
Yeah. Gloves and helmet minimum. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Kevin,
But
except you're saying leather chaps and a vest with no shirt. Yeah, and no underwear either. Just leather chaps, man.
full commando. Yeah, but the thing is, actually, when I first got my motorcycle license, I took a trip on a borrowed bike, and I went to Brasov, to the mountains. It's something like 100 and change miles up there. And then when I came back, the last 20, 30 miles on the highway, it got so incredibly hot. I pushed the bike up to 100 miles an hour, trying to cool myself off, because I did have a jacket. The person that lent me the bike also lent me a full motorcycle jacket.
Sure.
And I opened all the vents, and I tried going faster and faster. And I basically just got my motorcycle license. And at one point I was starting to feel drowsy because of the heat and all the sweating. I still had like 20 miles to go to home. And I just stopped on the side of the highway, and I said, this is stupid. I'm new to this. I'm doing 100 miles an hour on the highway basically it was a Kawasaki EN5. It's like a small little cruiser.
Yeah.
So no windshield, no nothing. I was fighting the wind. It was deafening loud. I didn't have earplugs because it was my first ride. I didn't know you could need earplugs. And I said, you know what? This is stupid. So I pulled over to the side of the highway, like on the highway, effectively on the emergency lane, took off the jacket, put it on the back, rode in a t-shirt. I was like, instead of passing out and surely crashing, might as well not pass out and just ride slower.
Yeah, exactly.
And get home
if
safe.
you're ever in those cases and you stop sweating, then you're in trouble, because that's getting into heat stroke. Your body is not cooling itself off anymore.
Another question about my English. Everyone asks about my English.
Are you getting questions on your side?
No, it's on your chat. Richard,
I just popped in, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, tell us about that. I saw it in your, you and I chatted about it in WhatsApp, and I got some of it from your videos. You're saying that you grew up watching American cartoons.
Yeah, Cartoon Network.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So tell us about that.
So basically, I am born in December of '88. 1 year after I was born, Romania had its revolution, and we basically kicked out communism, and we got democracy. So I was 1 year old when the revolution happened. Moving on another 2 years, when I was 3 years old, 91, in my home city of Constanța, a cable company appeared. And they started doing cable. Up until then, my parents had something like, not satellite TV. We would have basically an antenna on the apartment building, and we'd have like 2 or 3 stations, national stations. Once we got cable, we had something like 30 stations.
Wow.
And it was like, wow.
And it wasn't state-owned and run like communists. Yeah.
No, it was privately owned. So they had a couple of national shows, and in Romania we didn't have our own like Romanian cartoons channel. So basically, what they did was they just took Cartoon Network that was broadcasted in the U.S. and showed it in Romania with all the commercials. I grew up seeing commercials for Toys R Us.
Wow.
Toys R Us are still not in. I don't think do they still exist in the States?
No, I think they've pretty much done bankruptcy. Pardon me while I plug in my phone so it doesn't die. Yeah, it's down to 20%. So, Toys R Us has pretty much disbanded. I think somebody else bought out all their assets. But yeah, a lot of those toy companies and stuff that we grew up seeing the commercials, they're gone.
Yeah, so I grew up watching basically the cartoon channel that you guys over there watched. And because I started hearing English daily, because my parents didn't have that kind of thing where, don't leave your kid in front of the TV. Or if I like them and if I understand, okay, go watch them.
Right.
And so growing up, I learned Romanian from my parents and from my family and everyone. And I've learned English from cartoons.
Wow.
And at 6 or 7 years old, I was fluent. So I could speak English fluently. I could understand English. I had no idea how to write in English. I had no idea how to write in general, because here at 7 years old, you start first grade, where you actually start to learn how to write in school. So I had no idea how to write, but I could speak English fluently, including my mom. When I started first grade at 7 years old, took me to a private tutor for English because in my school system, you started your first language, foreign language, in the second grade. And she saw that I could speak English and I could understand TV shows and films and movies and everything in English. I was like, okay, I'll take him to a private tutor, pay for it, and maybe he can start learning some proper English. And after my first session with that private tutor, who was a person that spent half of her years in the UK, living and working in the UK as a teacher, and then moved back to Romania for retirement. She took me in. After the first session, I remember to this day, she told my mom, we already started on grammar.
Wow.
Because in terms of speaking, she did comment because she lived in the UK. She said, in terms of speaking, I have to get that American English out of him and put in British English.
Yeah.
But she said, we're already going to grammar. There's no point in me. I mean, he's fluent. We can do conversations in English like it's nothing. And when I speak in English, like I am doing currently now, I don't think in Romanian and translate the words in my head.
Right.
I just speak in English. It's normal for me.
Yeah. Now, how popular is English as a second language there in Romania?
Oh, it's the number one second language. You will be shocked if you come to Romania. I could just leave you out in the open and you'll be fine.
Okay. So it's a commerce language, so most countries kind of learn it, need it or not. Yeah. Interesting.
At least here in Romania, maybe because my generation that we're now getting into our 35 years old, I'm going to be 36 soon, we all grew up with these English cartoons and English movies and no subtitles, nothing double voiceovers or anything. We kind of learned English. I'm seeing the younger generations are having difficulties learning English. Because now if you go to Romanian Netflix, you see all of the TV, all of the cartoons, they have voiceovers in Romanian.
Ah, so they're not hearing it. They're not immersed in it as much.
That's why for the little one, we made a rule in the house. All cartoons are in their original sound.
Gotcha.
And she has already at 4 2/3, so 4 years and 8 months old, she has already started speaking English.
And how about your wife? Does she speak English?
Oh, yeah. She learned, she's only 2 years younger than me, and she learned the same way English, so she's also fluent in English.
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't learn a lot of languages here by default. It depends on which part of the country you live in. Southern U.S., we typically learn Spanish because we're so close to Mexico, and we have a pretty diverse population here in Houston, and the big major cities are melting pots of a lot of different ethnicities and cultures and everything like that. So Spanish would be the most common second language here, but we have a lot of other people from Russia, Poland, a lot of the Slavic nations that are here, and you hear it everywhere you go. And one thing that I found interesting is Portuguese. My wife is from Brazil, so that's her native language. Yeah. And I had never really tuned my ear to hear Portuguese until after we got married. And we have a huge Brazilian Portuguese population here in Houston. Everywhere I go, even here in the shopping centers, just the grocery store right around the corner from my house, almost every time I'm there, I hear someone speaking Portuguese in there. It's pretty wild. And then they'll be talking smack in Portuguese, expecting no one around them to understand it. And I'll turn and I'll look at them and I go, "Oh," and they're like, "Oh crap, he speaks Portuguese."
Those kinds of things are funny. Last time it happened to me, it was 2018, and I went to Paris, and people know that a lot of gypsies from Romania went to the western side of Europe to beg and stuff like that. Yep. And I was with somebody then, and we were in Paris, and there's this old lady that came up to beg for money, and I was like, I bet you she's from Romania. And I basically cursed at her in Romanian. She came asking for money in French, so I basically just cursed at her in Romania. Oh, she got pissed off and she started giving me all of the Romanian curse words.
You broke her game.
Exactly. I was like, don't beg for me. I'm one of you.
That's right. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how much longer you want to stay on. I'm going to wrap it up in a little bit. Does anyone have any particular questions for Alex while we're on here? I don't want to outstay my welcome or make him outstay his as far as.
Yeah, it's 11.
You said it's late there.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock at the moment.
Kevin is saying, check out YouTube channel Jalmaniac. I don't know what that one is. What is that, Kev?
Let's see. I have it on my computer in the background.
Numismatic saying a few languages. Yeah, no kidding. We always learn the curse words and the numbers. That's it. It's the first thing we always learn.
You always learn the curse words.
Curse words first.
I don't speak a single. I don't know any words in Russian, but I can curse in Russian.
There you go. Bliat.
Yeah, it seems to be like a travel channel, and he speaks many languages.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people that speaks many languages. I just speak Romanian and English.
Gotcha.
French is a total failure for me.
I was actually fully fluent in French. I took 4 years of French in school, and I translated for Hertz Corporation for several years, just getting out of school. And then I didn't use it for 10 years and pretty much lost it. But what you were saying earlier about when you're speaking English, you're not thinking in Romanian and then translating. It's interesting when you gain true fluency in another language because you start thinking in that language.
Yeah.
And I remember the day that happened to me. I was in the shower going through my to-do list in my head of what I needed to do that day. And I realized that I was thinking in French, everything I was thinking in French. And that was kind of an interesting aha moment. Like, wow, I'm actually thinking in another language because I had been immersed in it for so long and spending all day talking to French-speaking people instead of English-speaking people. So that was interesting. Scrib is asking how long you're going to be in the U.S. when you come for Cannonball. So how long do you plan to stay?
I think realistically it's going to be about 4 weeks if we plan to do the trip to Oregon and back and also take a week to go to Florida. I think it's going to be 4 weeks.
Okay. So a full
month.
How
long do you plan the trip up there to take? Another 7-8 days?
Yeah, I would think probably about 7 days. No more than that. What I try to do is give myself about a 2-day buffer in case of mechanical problems or weather or whatever, because you don't want to show up late. And what I try to do is give myself at least 1 full day, if not 2 or 3 days of downtime and recuperation before I start the return trip. So that's pretty much what we did last year in California. We got there 2.5 days early. So.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to talk to you about that. Like, if we're going to do it, we need at least 2 days there to recuperate after already a 3,000-mile trip.
Yeah, so it's a good idea to get there at least a couple days in advance. That way you can re-prep your scoot, go through it again, make sure there's no mechanicals, put a fresh belt in it if you want to, whatever. So
belts, I'm going to be okay. They're usually good on mine for even upwards of 10,000 miles. My problem is oil changes. Yeah. Most
small scoot engines need oil changes every 1,600 to 2,000 miles. So that every couple days, 3 days, something like that.
I usually do them at 2,500 kilometers in miles. Let's see, what's that? Yeah, 6.1. So 1,500 miles. So every 1,500 miles, I'm going to do an oil change.
Yeah, that's good. I usually do the same when I'm on the road. And we usually have access to a drain pan or something like that. And we take it to a local auto parts store where they do oil recycling. So we don't have to worry about carrying it very far.
Oh, yeah. In terms of oil changes on mine, I don't have a filter. I just need some brake clean to clean up the filter. It has a metal filter that you reuse. So I can do an oil change in something like 10 minutes.
Yep. Yep, pretty quick. Yeah, Neil does the same thing on his smaller scoots, the Zumas, when he's touring all over the U.S. He changes the oil about every 15 or 1,600 miles. So he takes all of his kit with him, and super easy.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting ride.
Anyone else have more questions for Alex before he
I'm
goes
looking
to
now. A Romanian gets in the top 10 in the Cannonball. I'm just happy to be the first Romanian to do it.
Yeah, no kidding. We've had a couple of people from Australia. We've had people from Europe. I think we had an Irishman. I'd have to look back through the roster. We had some fun guys in last year. It was an interesting crew.
Also, Adrian was talking about driving the sport truck. Is it still on?
We haven't done anything formal on that, but I'm sure he's probably still game for that. If he isn't, we do have at least 2 other pending opportunities for a dedicated support vehicle. So one of those will happen for sure. So we're going to have a way to haul spares and do all that stuff so we don't have to keep it on our own scoot.
Yeah, for spares it would be easier. I mean, a belt I can keep with me, but like the engine parts that I'm planning to bring in just in case the shit hits the fan, I wouldn't like to just carry them on my scoot all the way.
Thanks for tuning in, Roy. Sorry you got to go. I'll catch up with you later. Yeah, so when I ran in 21, we had the trailer so we could haul all of our crap behind us. And, we had all the tools. We had everything. During the Cannonball last year on the PCX, I should have taken a variator with me, and I had spare belts, but I was eating belts faster than I could replace them. So having a support truck with some spares is going to be a nice touch. It's better than just riding naked and afraid, which is what I usually do. PG says, greetings from Netherlands. Someday join. Just bought a Zontes 350. Hey, all right. Nice. Congrats.
You need to do a little trip over here to try some of the Europeans. Also, the ADV 350. I would try to get you on one of those for a test rides. I'll be honest with you, at least in terms of off-roading, because I took one off-road, it's not that impressive. It's pretty harsh in terms of suspension. The suspension is very hard. It doesn't soak up the bumps. That's the problem with it. The suspension looks like it means business, but it doesn't really deliver.
You think that's valving, or just maybe the way they've got the weight, the fork oil weighting and stuff, not quite right, or what?
It might be all wrong. Like I weigh 110 kilograms. That's something like 230, 240 pounds. You would expect me to be actually a little bit overweight. And I took it off-road on a very light road, and it just was like any other scooter, like bouncing around on all of the potholes. I was like...
So not soaking it up very well, okay.
Yeah, not soaking it up at all. And we actually, one of the friends of our bosses has an ADV 350. And a couple of days ago, he came to the showroom and he rode the ADX 300 from Sim. And that thing basically has the suspension off of a different model of Sim, a Joyride 300. It's also based on it. But they raised it up by 20 mil and just made it softer. So it bounces around every now and then, but in kind of that soft and gentle way. You can't bottom out the suspension if you hit a bump really hard, but he compared the two of them. And he said, I kind of prefer the softer suspension than the harsh one.
Interesting. Okay.
Maybe the ADV 350, if you ride it aggressively off-road, like really getting into bumps, it might actually start working properly. But how I rode it, and the video is on my channel, how I rode it, it was bouncing around like any other regular 300cc scooter.
Gotcha.
So...
Robbie,
I wasn't quite impressed with it.
Sorry to interrupt. Robbie, to answer your question, Alex is going to be riding his Symphony 200. Yeah, the Symphony 200, which is a 165, 169?
169.
169cc. And I'm going to be doing the 2015 PCX 150 again. Neil is already doing his Mad Max treatment on it, so I got to ride it. Matt, greetings from Virginia. Greetings from Texas. How are you? And Paul says the ADV 350 is definitely for road only. Yeah, that's kind of what I had read, and that echoes what you're saying, Alex. Is it's not really off-road suspension.
Yeah, I would love you to try out when we have it in the spring or at some point the ADX 400. That Scoot absolutely shocked me.
Yeah,
the way it could take a beating off-road. It absolutely shocked me. I mean, it was just as comfortable as my 96 GS 1100.
Nice.
It soaked up the bumps in the same way, where you could feel the suspension going up and down, and you were perfectly calm on the scooter.
Yeah.
Jumping around a little bit on the bigger bumps, but you could feel it was actually working and soaking up everything.
Gotcha. Sean Clark is asking about the DAX 125. I talked about that a little earlier in the live stream. That's a little bit of a long answer. I'm interested in it from the Minimoto perspective, but I'm not all that keen on it from a pricing perspective. It's $4,500, whatever MSRP. So out the door, it's going to be over $5,000 for a Minimoto. That's a hard sell. That's a hard sell.
You already have a Super Cub. It's the same drivetrain.
Already got a Super Cub and the Trail 125. Yeah, both.
Oh, so, you also have the Trail. That's
yeah,
one bike. You keep seeing about stuff we have in Europe and you don't have over there. We don't have the Trail.
Yeah. The Trail and the Cub have both got the 4-speed semi-automatic transmission, so the centrifugal clutch. The DAX is going to have that same transmission, but it's taking kind of the worst aspects of the Cub and the Monkey and mashing them together, in my opinion, because you're only getting a 4-speed transmission, no clutch. You're getting the smaller wheels, the 12-inch wheels, and you're getting a 1-gallon fuel tank. So I don't know. For $5,000 and change, I'm not all that excited about it. So, I don't know.
That's a lot for the DAX.
It's a lot for what you're going to get. Matt, the heat is it's rough. It's over 100 degrees in my garage right now. I'm sweating into my nose here.
Well, let me look. Currently outside over here, it's 70 Celsius. Let's see, 17 C to F. 62.
52, yeah. Our nighttime temperatures here in South Texas have been down in the 60s at night, so it's nice. But whew, man, today it got hot. So PG is asking, how are you going to record, Alex? You going to do 360 vids? What are you going to do?
No, just my regular Osmo Action 4 on the helmet, DJI mic inside, and probably just another camera like on the dash of the scooter or just this and phone. I'm going to keep my setup very simple, but I'm going to edit once I get back to Romania. I'm not going to edit on the road.
Yeah, it's hard to do that. I mean, once you get in the kind of the rhythm of the Cannonball, long days every day, you realize that in the evenings, you're just ready to shut down. You don't want to do video editing. You don't want to do offloading. You don't want to do any of that crap because you've got bike maintenance to do. You've got clothes, whatever, and you got to try to get some sleep. So yeah, the video.
I don't know what do you do for offloading footage?
Last year, I took a laptop with me. A thin, it's a fairly thin laptop, but I put a big ass hard drive in it, or a SSD. I put a 4 terabyte SSD in it, and I had 3 external 4 terabyte SSDs. So every 2 days or so, I was taking all of my SD cards, 512 gig and 1 terabyte SSD cards, and offloading them to the computer. So I ended up with 10.5 terabytes of data for 23. And that's pre-expanding to edit. So in other words, the 360 video, you've got to transcode into a much larger file that you can work with, and that increases by a factor of 6 to 8. So yeah, it was insane. My total footprint for editing the 23 Cannonball was 29.5 terabytes worth of video. So it was rough.
Brutal.
Yeah, brutal. And just watching back through all of it multiple times was hard enough.
Yeah. I still have my small little Asus laptop tablet thing and hard drives. Usually what I did in my Turkey trip, I was offloading every single day, but I'm going to have to think on this one because I don't think we're going to have time to offload every single day.
Well, bring extra SD cards. When I rode last year, I brought was it 6 1 terabyte SD cards and 4 512 gig SD cards. Those were in the 360 camera. So we'll have computers and we'll have stuff that you can offload to. So if you've got a spare hard drive that you want to bring, like an external USB drive or something like that.
I already have two terabyte externals. I
There
think
you
I
go.
have it. Yeah, I have it right here.
And we're going to have we'll have a support car or truck, so we can even offload while that thing's rolling. No big deal. Robbie, on the parts, if you've got any spare 2015 PCX parts, I might be able to take them off your hands. Scrib says, I think Quasi and Alex were separated at birth. Yeah. Brothers from a different mother on the wrong side of the planet.
Watching both your videos and my videos, we kind of have the same style of going on and on and on and on, and just showing everything.
That's it, because you never know what might be interesting to somebody,
Yeah.
PG says he likes both channels. Awesome. Thanks, man.
It's kind of the same style. At least our road trips, they're in the same style.
Yeah. Zontes available in the U.S.? No, not to my knowledge.
Not yet, but
some of the others, but Zontes isn't here yet.
One thing, have you seen the Zontes 368G?
No.
Look it up.
Okay.
Put it on Google.
Zontes 368G. All right, I'll take a look. Is it a scoot or a bike?
It's a scooter. It's an evolution of my 350E.
Interesting. All right, I'll have to take a look at that. Robbie says you got the front and rear tires for the PCX 150. Yeah, you sold the PCX to your dad, right, Robbie? Matt saying he gets the shock issues, heavier around 240, rear shock on the roughhouse is just a spring. Interesting. Yeah. If you don't have a proper shock with good damping, you probably want to invest in a real damper. Something with adjustable preload, too. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm taking up your entire evening here. I hope you don't get in trouble with the missus. It's after, is it midnight there now, almost?
11:30, so 30 minutes to midnight. We are 8 hours separated.
8 hours apart. Okay, that's easy conversion.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about dates and planning so I can start planning my logistics and plane tickets. I need to start looking for plane tickets.
Yeah, well, let's offline. Let's have a couple of conversations through email or WhatsApp, and we'll set up maybe another stream like this where we can just sit down and hash out Cannonball plans and road prep plans and things like that. You're well versed with long road trips and motocamping, so you kind of know what you need to bring as far as equipment. But
you will see, I'm very basic.
Yeah, well, if I could spin that camera around remotely, you'll see my wall of motorcycle and camping stuff over here. So whatever you don't have, I'm sure I have in my inventory, except for scooter parts, obviously.
Scooter parts, you actually have the Jet 14200 in the States.
Right.
And that's the exact same engine I have in mine.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
So I'm not expecting them to have parts in stock, so I'm going to bring my own parts. But just as a side note, if you want a sim, I would recommend the Jet 14200. You might like it.
Well, there are a couple of interesting dealers that have popped up here in the Houston area, and we've got a sim and Kimco dealer that I might check some of that out. They were also selling Royal Enfield, so I did a couple videos over there. I wasn't real happy with their pricing, but they do have a good selection, so I might look into those. Tim Wagster, sub to you, Alex. So you grabbed another sub. Cool. PG is asking, is there going to be a European Scooter Cannonball? I don't think so. At least not by the organizers of the Cannonball here on this side of the pond, at least as far as I know. But
if you look into my head,
maybe Alex and I can come up with something, find some interesting sponsors over there on the other side of the pond and put together some kind of a European rally that's similar nature.
It would be interesting to have on 1 year the U.S. Cannonball, and the next year the European Cannonball, and have them
Yeah,
like tic tac
print it.
toe.
Yeah. That would be a real challenge for people to do back to back every year, but it would give an opportunity for people that are on the other side of the pond to do the event without traveling to another country. So yeah, that'd be cool, or at least another continent. I always forget when we talk about Europe in general, everything is so closely knit over there that you can go country to country to country. It's not really that big a deal.
Yeah.
Here, when we talk about going to another country, we're talking another continent general, because our states are so big and everything is so vast here. Texas, is 850 miles across at its widest point. So just riding across Texas is the equivalent of traveling through 3 or 4 different European countries in one shot.
It depends where you are, because the trip from here in Romania to, let's say, something like Barcelona is over 2,000 miles, like straight shot on the highway.
Yeah.
Script said in Romanian, noapte bună, good night. So you can make an interesting route in Europe, because we have a lot of old roads through the mountains, through the Alps, through the Carpathian, through the Dolomites. And you don't need necessarily, like, highway distances are okay, not that big. But if you make a route through mountain passes and everything, you can make something like a 300-400 mile day, where you go up to, I don't know, 2,000 meters altitude. I don't know how much that is in feet, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
And it would take you something like 10, 12, 13 hours to do. And it would only be 300 miles.
Right. But it's up.
The terrain would be so difficult, but also so enjoyable. Just riding through the Alps, riding through even our Carpathian mountains are absolutely gorgeous. You get some roads that just ride the peaks of all of the mountains, and you keep riding and going up and down, following all of the peaks, and you see valleys on both sides. So there are we have a lot of old geography here in Europe.
Right.
So a lot of mountains, plus also you have the northern part, like Norway, Sweden, with all the fjords and everything. Those are also absolutely gorgeous.
So don't forget Scandinavia,
yeah. You can make a tremendously beautiful cannonball. And if you start something from the south of Italy to go up to North Cap, that's 3,000-4,000 miles straight shot.
Wow.
And you would be basically starting at the tip of Africa, close to Africa, in Sicily, and going up to the Arctic Circle.
That would be a trip.
Yeah. But here in Europe, the trip to North Cap, to the top of Norway, to the Arctic Circle, is frequently done by motorcycle riders, because the roads are good. The scenery is beautiful. Norway is bloody expensive, but you can camp.
And bloody cold, I would imagine. You'd have to pick your time of year that you want to ride, I would think.
In the summer, it's okay-ish.
Yeah.
It's kind of like 60, 65 degrees during the daytime. Fahrenheit.
Hey! On the Rebel 11, Gus. He's nice. He's kind of from your area of the world, Alex.
Where is he from?
You can chime in there, Gus. I'll wait for him to answer. But he's kind of from your side of the world in general. I don't know how long he's been here in the States, but great guy. He's super fun, super generous guy. Matt's saying you live in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Gorgeous. Yes, Blue Ridge is amazing. Appalachians are gorgeous, minus the sections that got erased by the hurricane just a few weeks ago. I wonder how the Blue Ridge and some of that area is going to be now. I haven't seen how many of the nice roads are washed out. We had bad storms over here. I don't know if you saw some of that on the news.
I saw some of it, and I saw that Florida just got hit by a hurricane.
Yeah.
Category 5, right?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Kevin's saying we flew a couple from Romania to the USA. You guys know how to drink. That's a secret. Not supposed to talk about that.
Here, officer.
Carolinas were hit hard. Yeah, and a lot of the, from what I hear, the Blue Ridge area, some of the highways that I've ridden, I know, got washed away completely. It's going to be a while before those are good roads. So Gus hasn't answered. Maybe he doesn't want to answer, but anyway, he's a great guy. He's got a Rebel 1100. That's how we met, was through that forum, and he's been watching a lot of the Cannonball videos and said that he enjoys your videos as well. So he's probably already subscribed to you over there on your side.
Also, just one final question, because I've never been to the States. How is the route from your perspective? Is it a good route next year, like scenic and everything? I know Oregon is beautiful.
It's I've not been up to Oregon in a long time. I've done the Northwest coast, but I've not been to this particular area in Oregon. So I hear it's just beautiful up there. We're going to see some amazing landscapes. No matter how you slice or dice it, it's going to be a little bit torturous as far as the elevations are concerned. But it's mostly rural highways. So we don't see a lot of super slab. You're not going to be on major interstates. It's all side roads and back roads. So you get to see true Americana. Little towns, little diners, little stuff that you miss when you're on the main highways. That's the greatest part about these trips.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah. And as far as the weather, it's going to be hot. You know, it's June, July. It's going to be pretty warm. But you'll be impressed with the route, I think. I've not ridden this exact route that we're going to be taking, but I've ridden all around through those areas. It's going to be nice.
Yeah. Well, awesome to be on the live stream, and hope everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah. Couple of
if
last
you have
questions.
any more questions for me?
Alex, yeah, we'll let Alex sign off. It's late over there. I'm sure his wife is already hating me. Stranger.
Oh, she's unpacking. As you can see, she's unpacking.
Nice. Sorry, we're monopolizing your husband. Matt is saying, found me through Birch and found Alex through me. Nice. Yeah. It's always good to network out like-minded people and riding habits.
Yeah.
What we do is kind of niche market stuff. You know, we don't. We're not mainstream kind of channels where we're pushing products and doing reviews and all that. I think both Alex and I are more about the riding and the real experience of being on the road. So that's what you get with us. PG is asking bikes I own. I'm down. I was at 26 bikes for a little while. I'm down to 16 now, and still thinning the herd. How many do you have, Alex?
I have the 3. So I have my 96 GS 1100 BMW, my scooter, my 2021 Symphony ST200, and the Zontas 350 that I still have payments on.
Gotcha.
And I'm planning next year for Christina to get the ADX 125 that's part of our test fleet, the one that I've been riding, that I took to Greece.
Nice.
So she's already ridden it a couple of times, and next summer we're going to get it for her as her main scoot. And also I'm going to steal it for road trips.
Does she enjoy
it? She loves riding.
Awesome. Matt, no, I've not done all of Route 66, but I've done a lot of sections of it. I grew up in central Oklahoma, so Route 66 passed right through my hometown. So I've done a lot of Route 66, probably about 2,000 miles of it, but I've not ridden it all the way from California all the way up to wherever it ended out near Chicago. I've not done that whole route yet. Heather, how are you doing, Heather? Hope things are getting back to normal in your neighborhood. Matt, thanks for the love on the small bore. So many bikes. Yeah, it's too many bikes. The maintenance is the hard part, keeping them all fresh. Quasi, the great corrupter. Yes, I am. I'm a bad influence. Kevin is saying his self-imposed limit is 2. He's got 2. He's got the Eliminator and the ADV 150.
You know the saying, the correct amount of bikes that you need is in your life is N+1, where N is your current number of bikes.
Plus one more. That's right.
Exactly. You always need one more.
PG, asking, are you planning to ride to Netherlands, I guess?
No plans to ride to the Netherlands at this moment.
All right. Matt is saying good night. Elevation from Western Oregon. Oh, Bob is commenting on the route real quick. Elevation from lowland Western Oregon to higher elevation Oregon is steep, 8%. Yeah, we're going to be crossing probably part of the Continental Divide and going through the northern part of the Rockies. So, yeah, we're going to get hammered, but it's nothing that I haven't done the last 2 cannonballs. That was fun on the cut, let me tell you.
With all those elevation changes, I think I'm going to leave the stock transmission in mind, the stock variator, because although it may not have top end, it cruises at 50, 55 real world speed.
Sure.
It climbs really well. That engine may be air cooled, but it's torquey.
Yeah.
And it's 55 is maximum, but it can climb 8 to 9% grades at 35, 40 miles an hour, fully laden with luggage and everything without any kind of issue.
Yeah.
So I think the best bet would be just leave it stock and
stock, maybe sliders. That's it. But yeah, definitely stock on everything. That's where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
PG is saying good night. So all right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, Alex, and participating in this. It was just an impromptu. We had no plans, no script, and
zero plans.
So that's it. Awesome. So
yeah, thank you for having me.
We'll bid you all farewell, and we'll try to schedule a proper live stream with some giveaways and maybe some real talking points for next time through. So I'll hope to catch you again for Kevin's visit when we're doing some wrenching, and I'll have some product giveaways that we'll do during that. And otherwise, good night to you, Alex. Thanks for tuning in from Romania. And thanks so much for chatting. Catch you next time.
Bye.